talking about. Not with maybe Randy Orton, Batista, and Seth Rollins.
That's weird.
There's room to agree and room to disagree on that. But he's definitely 100% wrong when he talks about Shawn Michaels that way.
Well, we can also blame Michael Cole for that because he did mention HBK first and then Samoa Joe. I think he just kind of played off of that, which, I understand your point. I think he was just playing off of, what Michael Cole said. So, Michael Cole, get off the announce team. Just do these sit-down interviews more.
Maybe when Shawn Michaels came back in the early 2000s and they redid DX, maybe that's what he was talking about, but
maybe.
Who knows? I did, however, like the comment Samoa Joe made where I'm not no Sami Zayn, just here to be happy on Raw, because that set up an interview, because I know we're kind of going to mush into this next matchup with Sami Zayn versus Rusev.
Handsome Rusev. Fuck off, people.
Where Sami Zayn gets the victory over Rusev and gets interviewed, and he's like, well, I heard Samoa Joe's little comment, and then basically gets blindsided by Joe. And now, I really hope this sets up Sami Zayn and Samoa Joe at WrestleMania. I know they have Fastlane coming up. I see this drawing out to completion at Mania with Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn. And those two will tear the friggin' house down.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I agree with that, especially down in NXT. They had great matches down there. I did make this point during our Facebook message conversation that maybe they're going to have that match pushed to Fastlane because there's a good chance that Seth Rollins is not going to be cleared 100% for that, because I know it would be more beneficial to have, Rollins versus Joe at Fastlane and then have Rollins versus Triple H at Mania. But I think they may need somebody who's going to, deliver a great quality matchup and give Samoa Joe just that, still monstrous edge that he had. As great as his match was with Roman Reigns was at Raw last week, I think that having somebody with the caliber of either Seth Rollins or Sami Zayn at Fastlane would definitely help Samoa Joe again prove that he is indeed the monster that Triple H believes in, and just really says, hey, I want the job done. I brought this guy up here for a reason. So it might get pushed to Fastlane, but I do agree with you when you say that, Joe and Sami should headline WrestleMania. I definitely agree with that. They would just tear the house down, and that would put Bucks in the seats majorly. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
All right, so from there, I'm gonna save the this. I think the next big segment was the Festival of Friendship. I'm gonna save that for last because I believe that should have been the main event, not what the main event was there, because we're gonna talk a lot about that. Quick squash match, I guess you could say. Enzo getting destroyed by Cesaro, and this really kind of hurt Enzo in a major way as far as wrestling wise. It definitely showed a lot of his weaknesses. It was.
Well, it sucks because the guy, he is what does he call himself? A Jedi smack talker, and with his lightsaber or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever he says, really good on the mic. Even the stuff he said tonight was hilarious. The whole, Swiss Smith, the when he chocolate joke or whatever he said.
The marshmallow comment, yeah.
Yeah, it was really funny. It was cracking me up, especially after the segment, that we're going to talk about later, because that happened right before that. So it's a nice segue into that. But yeah, I saw a couple of people just ripping on Enzo like it was all his fault, and it is partially his fault. But I also partially blame Cesaro for what happened. He was supposed to throw Enzo over the top rope, and it looked like he really didn't have a solid grip on him, and Enzo tried to play it off, by jumping over the top rope, acting like he was trying to get out of the ring and take a break. I give him credit for that. That was really heads up, try and salvage this moment, make it look like I did it myself because I wanted to get out of the ring. But then they go right back into it, and he was supposed to pick him up and do like a elevated choke. And they just, Cesaro and they kept mistiming the pickup and the jump. You actually hear Cesaro say very loudly, one more time, and then they do it. And it was just like, I sent a message into the group. I'm like, this is a train wreck. I think they all felt it was going bad, and they just ended it.
Yeah, we're not gonna go too much into that because I think we kind of know where the result's going to be.
Yeah, that's about as much as I want to talk about.
But let's talk about one of the better things that happened on Monday Night Raw, and this was actually very interesting. This was the only matchup in the Cruiserweight division, being Akira Tozawa versus Arya Daivari. This was actually one of the better Cruiserweight matches I've seen on Raw. I'm thinking, holy cow, these guys are doing really well. I mean, Akira Tozawa looked like he got destroyed by that hammerlock clothesline. Akira Tozawa, again, I said this during the messenger, I said that it sounds like he's just, when he's screaming, he's just saying, ha, ha, ha. And it's like one of those things where it's like he's almost laughing and mocking his opponent, and the crowd's getting behind it. It's like, dude, if this is, him doing this intentionally, like, make it seem like he's laughing at his opponent, that's an excellent mind game. I would love for them to just play off that. It's like, that signature, grunt or whatever he does. That's sounds like, he's more laughing. It sounds like he's getting in the head. And I think Arya Daivari definitely kind of showed that a little bit, where he's just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? What the hell? But again, Akira Tozawa just exploded German suplex into the bridge out of nowhere for the 1-2-3. Oh my gosh, Tozawa, you're saving.
The match itself was great. And what in the hell is Brian Kendrick doing, going around telling everyone that Akira Tozawa is his protege, and he's coaching him, and he stood up at the end of the match and gave him a standing ovation, and like Michael Cole was like, dude, he's not even looking at you, he's not even acknowledging you, and he's like, oh, well, he's too busy, he's got stuff to do, he doesn't need to, this isn't about me, this is about him. And it's just like, I don't know, Brian Kendrick, I freaking love the guy. I loved him back in the day, I love him now. He continually just finds the most ridiculous ways to crack me up. It's funny. I'm curious to see what they do. I'm hoping it ends with them in a match eventually at one point.
I think it is. I think that Akira Tozawa versus Brian Kendrick is bound to happen. And when we see that match, I think it's going to be just magical. It's going to be spectacular. That's going to just be an awesome matchup. All right, so we move on to what was the main event of Raw, but not the main event of this show, was the Raw Women's Championship matchup between Bayley and Charlotte. The Raw curse continues.
What in the fuck?
It's why? Just this was the main thing. I think you agree too, where we were just both kind of scratching our heads, but then we're at the point where we just start saying, just why? You wasted something that could have been awesome. I mean, you mentioned it.
I was saying for months, and I know Chris Lockman was with me on this, that we wouldn't see Bayley hold that title until WrestleMania. They ruined that tonight. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy for Bayley. I've been a fan of Bayley since like day one. That was a great match. Like, it was a really good match. Like, they both brought it. And I just don't get why. Because now you're going to have Charlotte win it back at Fastlane, making her a 5-time, in like 5 months, 5-time women's champion. She's gonna be tied with John Cena by the end of this year at this rate, maybe even sooner. But I really feel in my heart that they ruined what could have been one of the greatest WrestleMania celebrations for the women's division, like ever, by having Bayley win her first women's title at the grandest stage of them all, at WrestleMania 33, and that place would have moments, like the wacky wailing inflatable arm and tube bend or whatever the hell those things are called.
Right.
Like those things all over the damn place, confetti falling. It's just like a huge celebration they could have had, and they ruined it tonight. Like, yeah, some of them it still could happen, but it won't be as memorable. And you know, I kind of had this argument with Chris Lockman a while back, talking about how Roman Reigns won his first world title. I mean, what was he like a week long? Like not even.
No, it was like that.
It was like a day or something, just so short-lived.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why didn't you just save that? And he's like, well, it's going to get it back, you know. And it's like, yeah, but you want your first title, you want your first title reign to be memorable. You don't want it to be a flash in the pan. You don't want it to be something to be, yeah, it's your first championship. You got to that level. They put you there. That's cool. But I would rather have my first world title run be memorable and something that I can look back on and say, like, this was one of the greatest moments of my life. And now, like, you know, Bayley's going to lose the title in 3 weeks. I'm pretty much guaranteeing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be like, what, you had your first women's title for 3 weeks? Cool. You know? To me, that's not that impressive. And I think it ruins it. And it's ruining the women's title. It's ruining the prestige of it, I think, by you're basically treating it like a fucking game of hot potato. And I don't like it at all. I do not like it. I'm over it. You know what? You know what happens when you change the women's title too many damn times? Do you know what happens?
Where's Chris? Where's Chris?
Raw women's division. You just made the list.
Like, yeah, no kidding. Oh my gosh. I mean, I do agree with what you're saying because it just feels like this is where the women's title is going. It's going to change on Raw, and then at the next pay-per-view, it's just going to be like, oh, we're going to give it back to Charlotte. And honestly, God, if they do have Charlotte become a 16-time women's champion by the time the year ends, I'm going to get in contact with Big E. I'm going to say, dude, what's the next lottery number? Because he called it, to be honest, right now. You called it like weeks ago.
He got heat for that.
Well, he's not wrong, especially in this kind of scenario. I mean, I guess they could make the case that they're going to hype up Sasha versus Bayley at WrestleMania, but I more agree with what your point is that you could have had, you know, Bayley win the title at WrestleMania, and it could have been such a bigger deal, but it feels like it's just a watered-down victory for Bayley because everybody knows what's going to happen. It's just Charlotte's going to win it back at Fastlane, and then somehow it's going to be even if they put the title belt back on Bayley at WrestleMania, it's still going to be a watered-down victory. It's not going to mean that much of anything. Like you said, it's like, oh, well, her first reign lasted 3 weeks. Well.
Yeah, it's like, cool, congratulations. It's your second championship, but, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't like it. Oh God, this title has changed so many damn times in like 2-3 months. It's changed like 5 times, 4 times. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's not like the WWE Championship situation where for John Cena he did hold it for about 2 weeks and then lost it to Bray Wyatt. At least there's a purpose behind it because they're setting up, you know, Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. This just felt like it was just a major kink on this road where it just felt like it didn't make any sense at all. It just didn't work. I honestly thought that, you know, Sasha was going to turn heel tonight. I thought she was just going to, you know, turn on Bayley, and that would probably set up maybe Sasha versus Bayley at Fastlane. I'd much rather prefer that, and then have Bayley win the title at WrestleMania. That would have made a hell of a lot more sense.
Yeah, I'm wondering now. In my head, I kind of had it pictured as a fatal 4-way with Charlotte, Sasha, Bayley, and Nia Jax at Mania, and I still kind of feel like I'm like 50-50 with it now. Like, is it going to be a fatal 4-way with those 4, or a triple threat with Sasha, Bayley, and Charlotte?
I don't know, man. I guess we're going to have to find out in a few weeks.
True.
But we move on from that.